he said. "Good thinking. I'll pay for it," Frank said, meaning, "I'll pay for it. You arrange it." He was about to touch their father's hand, too. Ben could see it, but he also thought better of it. Zoltan did not budge as Frank departed. For Ben it was all good. Frank was best taken in small doses, or no doses. He sat again on the chair beside his father. Zoltan's eyes did not move. Ben was afraid he was dead. But then something did move behind the eyes, like something stirring on the floor of a pond. Ben waited. The air in the room was too thin to hold an odor. The walls were drab and blemished, as if they too were ailing. How was it possible to stare at these walls or at the clock with its stopped heart, or breathe in the thin air without reaching for significance? A room like this near the ocean would smell salty. A room like this in the mountains would be too bright. You could look out the window to search for the place where the sky ended and heaven began. But here there was nothing to distinguish this room. It was in a building in the center of a city where tall trees must once have stood, where the buffalo roamed and where songs were still written. But maybe that was the point for Ben's father and him. Maybe this was the right setting after all. Ben could feel his thoughts loosening, the knot of them untangling. He was here with his father, but he was not sure Zoltan had any need of him. Zoltan had said once that the last days of life were still life. Death was simpler. Ben could hear his own voice coming on, the pulse in his ears. "Dad, let's not wait for the TV guy. There's a lounge at the end of the hall with a nice TV in it. Let's go down together and have a visit. We can watch Nick Wallenda cross the falls. I'm not sure what time he's on." An answer was hatching in his father's mouth but never quite broke through. Ben stared at him, at his mouth, his face. All the days of his life were clamped in him now and sealed. The flight from the Russians, the triumph over Nazism, the arrival at Pier 21, the smell of sweet noodles with walnuts and plums, the cat that came mysteriously to their house one day and never left, the reading of Alexandre Dumas, especially The Three Musketeers, the last of the melting snow, the mad magnetism of a streetlight to a moth, the keeling over of a top-heavy coterie that stood in the vestibule, the tasting of a piece of grilled lamb chop to see if it was done. Did he not want to pat his first great-grandchild on the head, see where his own line might be going? Were there unexploded fireworks still in him? Zoltan was normally such a noisy man that the plump silence grew big enough now in the room to bounce, if you let it. How pointless it seemed suddenly to see the summer smiling in from the window. "Come, Dad," Ben said. "When are we ever going to see a guy crossing the falls again?" Zoltan let his son help him up and put a robe on him. Ben expected him to trudge down the hall the way people did on this floor. But his father was not a trudger, so they walked briskly, almost broke into a trot. They could hear the TV clanging and dinging from a good distance. "Come on down," said Drew Carey. Someone was watching The Price is Right. A young, cheerful girl and her grandfather were quite caught up in it. They were both dressed in street clothes, visitors like Ben. The grandfather was clapping and the girl was jumping like mad from side to side. Beside them on a small round table was a carton of chicken wing bones, the lid marked "Wingding." It was as if a whole flock of birds had been snatched out of the air and laid to rest there. Zoltan took a seat on a leather lounge chair beside the girl and Ben sat on a wooden chair on his other side. Ben clapped along with the girl's grandfather. A tall woman called Rita, according to the name tag pasted on her bright pink T-shirt, was about to guess the price of a sailboat, plus a trip to the South Seas. The girl stopped jumping and chewed the ends of her shiny brown hair. A few minutes later, when the announcer called on Thelma to come on down, the girl began jumping all over again, but straight up and down this time. Suddenly, she sensed Zoltan was watching her rather than the TV. "Do you have jumping people?" she asked him. "Pardon me," he said. Ben could hardly hear his father. "I mean people who jump for you in the back when the man says, 'Come on down.'" "Is that what you are?" Ben asked. "Are you a jumping person?" "Yes," the girl said. "But I also have jumping people, and if I get to be on the show, I want to take my jumping people with me." Zoltan's eyes ripened, his ears closed. Ben knew him well. His father had reached that moment in the eye when seeing everything and seeing nothing met. He kept expecting his father to vanish, the borders of him to dissolve. The little girl was wearing white and black saddle shoes, and now she was leaping outright to show everyone what she'd meant. She was raising her arms high in the air, too, hoping to hit the ceiling.